Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's Sunday Night Live and Alexis Sanchez still hasn't signed officially for Manchester United. Although he has been at Carrington today carrying out his medical. Mkhitaryan's been at Arsenal and we expect this deal to be signed. Well, I don't really understand why it can't be signed now. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But certainly by Tuesday at the latest it should be done. It's a long drawn out affair. I personally think now it's in Manchester United's hands. They know United fans have been refreshing Twitter every 2 minutes for the last week. They could have put us out of our misery and just said it's official pending the medical, but they're not going to do that. They probably want Mourinho there, and I don't think Mourinho's back till Tuesday because he's given the players 2 days off and he's gone to London according to reports. So who knows when it will get announced. But Flex and Sophie on the show, everybody get whacking the like button and get involved. Sanchez will be available for the FA Cup, but I've got loads to talk about. Martial, Fellaini, Lingard, how does Sanchez fit in? The negative press again today. But I want to start off with this question because I think it's the thumbnail as well. The best swap deal ever. The best swap deal ever is what people are calling this. And this is Arsenal fans, Flex. So how do we feel as getting Alexis Sanchez? Because the way the press are playing it now, it's almost like Mkhitaryan's better than Sanchez.
Nah, no chance. Like for me, as good as Mkhitaryan is, we know he can be a great footballer. There's a huge question mark over his head. You know, when he goes to Arsenal, it's going to be interesting to see, has he not played well in this country because of the way Mourinho is, the way of the demands of our club? Or is it that he just can't make it in the Prem, the physicality, the pace of the game? Those are the question marks that that the Arsenal fans got to try and work out. With us, we're getting ready-made, ready-proven, world-class quality player in Alexis Sanchez, who will definitely make our squad better. I think with Arsenal, it's a matter of if they get Aubameyang on top of that, etc., and him and Mkhitaryan linking up like they did at Dortmund could be exciting. But for them, I just think that they're just trying to make the best out of a bad situation. They knew they was going to lose Sanchez, so they may as well get someone at the same time. But if you would have offered that at the beginning of the season before this whole Sanchez saga started with his contract and said, I'll tell you what, before we even kick a ball this season, I'll swap you a shiny Sanchez card for a basic Mkhitaryan card, you'd say no. You'd say no. So I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that at all. We got the better deal by far.
Shivan Tabani's made an early contribution. He says, Mark, people are forgetting without Mickey we wouldn't be in the Champions League. People abusing Mickey, holding this up. What's your thoughts? I don't think anyone's accusing Mkhitaryan of holding it up anymore, Sophie. I think it's dangerous ground in relation to Mkhitaryan because there are a lot of United fans who didn't want him to go. I wasn't one of them. And I agree with Flex. I think it's hilarious what the press are trying to do, but they just hate United and trying to make out that Mkhitaryan's a better deal than Sanchez. I mean, we've seen Mkhitaryan for the last 3 months, whether you like him or not. He's been subbed off at half-time in the last 2 games. That's embarrassing. This is a fantastic deal for United and a swap deal. There's no money involved. It's a swap deal. United have won this, haven't they? They've won it without trying. Yeah,
it's a fantastic deal, especially for United. I do think if Arsenal get Aubameyang, that'll be obviously exciting times for them. Like Flex says, if they can link up like they did at Dortmund, then who knows? That could turn out to be a fantastic deal for them as well. In terms of Mkhitaryan, I'm sad to see him go, to be honest, because he's showing in phases that he has got quality. And like just mentioned, he scored some important goals for us, especially in the Europa League. So I am disappointed to see him go. However, I tweeted about this. The amount of United fans who were basically saying, Mickey, just get out of my club, because the choice is Mickey or Sanchez, and everybody wanted Sanchez. So for me, even if we got Sanchez, realistically, could Mickey stay with fans saying that kind of thing? Would he be welcome in a United shirt? For me, he would be. But the amount of United fans who basically wanted Mickey out of the club, for me, was astounding. And so that's why I couldn't see him staying, which is why the swap deal is the best deal for both parties. Like Flex said, Arsenal needed to get something out of the deal. It was either that or losing for free in the summer. And getting Mkhitaryan, a player who Wenger obviously rated before he came to United. And obviously looking like they're going to sign Aubameyang now, I think it's looking like a really positive deal for both parties as well.
Yeah, I've got to answer this because it's a live comment, but it's a super chat one. Cheyenne Ahmed says, why don't you collaborate with the Full-Time Devils? I'll come back to that in a minute. I will come back to it. But We've got loads of people on the moderators tonight. Big up to the moderators. And as Draughty says, any sexist or derogatory comments in relation to Sophie will be muted and eventually blocked. She's on here to talk about football. It's not a beauty pageant and it's becoming quite tiring. She's on here because she's got great opinions about football and Manchester United. So show some respect and grow up, please. In relation to why we don't collaborate with Full Time Devils, they've never wanted to do it. We were tiny, they never wanted to do it. We're massive now, they don't want to do it. You've got to respect their opinion. We move on, but thanks for the contribution. You were at the game yesterday, Flex. Martial was sent, and just very quickly, the title is not misleading. This is from the BBC. They've said this afternoon, 48 hours, he will be official. He's had his medical this afternoon. Alexis Sanchez official to Manchester United by Tuesday. We've gone safe with this one. We're not saying tomorrow, we're saying by Tuesday. And I guarantee he'll be holding up the shirt. I'm not going to say what number, by Tuesday. So it will happen by Tuesday. But you were at the game yesterday, Flex. There was a tweet on the United Stand account Twitter today that said something along the lines of Jose Mourinho is about to face the biggest moment of his Manchester United career, because if he drops Martial for Alexis Sanchez, there's no point in signing Alexis Sanchez. He must play them both together. Are you confident that he will do that?
Yeah, I think, the way he's questioned Martial's mentality and desire, especially last season, picking him out, I was actually worried at one stage, if I'm being deadly honest with everyone, that Martial might get fed up, in and out of the team, manager digging him out. But he showed great character, great mental strength. We know he's got the ability. That's never going to be an issue with him. He has outstanding ability, and like I said, he can be one of the world's best players. If not, he is already one of the best young players anyway. So I'm not, now he's got to that level, and to be fair, I know Jesse Lingard was obviously coming for great praise as being one of our most consistent performers, but it's actually emerging as Martial at the moment. It's his moment, it's his time to shine, and even like the signing of Alexis Sanchez is not going to force him out that side. On that left-hand side, I can just see Mourinho playing Sanchez off the right. I think that side's been a toss-up between Mata and Rashford. Rashford's obviously been out of form of late. He will come good. Got every hope that Rashford's going to be a great player in the future. He's just suffering his first dip in form in his career, in his short career so far, which is going to happen. That's fine. So we need to get off his back first of all. But in terms of Sanchez coming in, I do not see it being at the expense of Martial. I mean, you don't even need to be Mourinho to work that out. You could be a pub side manager. You see what Martial's doing at the moment, how he's ripping teams apart. His finishing's on point. He's a constant threat throughout the game. And all you do is you add to that, where Mata didn't have his best game yesterday. Lingard kind of, I'm not going to say going back to normal, because I still think he's been playing very well, but he's had two kind of average games now. So those are the players you look to sacrifice at the expense of Alexis Sanchez, not someone in Martial who's absolutely fantastic. So no chance. I don't see Jose doing that. I'll be absolutely shocked and fuming if he does, to be fair. So I can't see that happening. I'm not worried about that at all.
James Tinker, I've just noted your super chat option, your question. We will answer it. It's a good one. There's another one there now, but just I want to get your opinion on it, Sophie, because as much as I love Mourinho, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that he would put Martial on the bench for Sanchez and keep Lingard, Mata, and Lukaku. I suppose I'm probably hoping more than anything that won't happen. Have you got any concerns about that?
Well, at Arsenal, Sanchez typically played on the left, which would obviously put Martial's position in a bit of a risk, really. But like Flex, I would love us to be honest, to go 4-3-3 and have Martial on the left, Lukaku down the middle, and Sanchez from the right. I think that could be awesome, playing those three up top. Hopefully Mourinho feels the same as well. He can see Sanchez and Martial being on the pitch together. Martial doesn't deserve dropping at the moment. He's scoring goals. And you know what, I thought yesterday he's one of our biggest threats on the pitch. So for me, I don't think he can drop Martial at the moment. But it's that trust factor, isn't it? He trusts, obviously, Lingard. Mata's been getting game time as well. But if there's anybody who I can see losing out, it would be Mata. I can't see Mata really playing as much with Alexis in our team. So personally, I would like to see us go 4-3-3 and have Martial staying on the left, Lukaku centrally, and then Sanchez on the right.
Yeah, I mean, Lingard could still hang on to his place, although I do want to talk about Lingard in a few minutes' time. Matt Maloney says, if Martial was at any other big club, the media would be all over him saying he's world-class just because he's at United. They don't. Very, very good comment. I think he won the game for us yesterday. He's won many a game for us this season. If he was wearing a Manchester City or an Arsenal or Liverpool shirt, you're right, they'd be all over him. But the reality is, United fans know how good he is. That's all that matters. I want to touch on this. People won't be surprised. I just said this in my match reaction yesterday, and I put this to both of you as well and the live comments. It's not a witch hunt. People know what I think about Fellaini, and that is that I've got nothing against the lad, just don't like the style of football. Surely he's a contract rebel. He won't sign a new contract. And you see at many clubs, when people won't sign a contract, you either get rid of them, or you certainly don't give them game time to try and force them to sign a contract. Mourinho yesterday, 20 minutes to go, parks the bus. I didn't really have a problem with him parking the bus. Burnley are a good team at home, and we didn't look like we could get that second goal. So brings Fellaini on. I think Fellaini did okay at defending crosses and breaking up the play. But is that odd, Flex, that Fellaini is technically a contract rebel? Mourinho is still, playing him in games and using him. How do you interpret that? I'm not really saying that he shouldn't be picking him, but my interpretation of that is that, again, we clearly are desperately bending over to Fellaini saying, please sign a contract, because it makes no sense to me why he's sat there saying, I'm not signing a new contract until you give me massive money, and yet Mourinho's still using him. There's a real danger that he could be signing a new contract in the next 10 days, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think with Mourinho, I think he's gone down the route of, whatever contract situation's going on, similar to the Sanchez thing with Arsenal. You're contracted to us, and from when you're not, you're going to play. You're going to play. I do think a big part of it was the type of game that it was yesterday. I said in my review of the game yesterday that I was actually pleased to see him come on. Like you said just a second ago, we didn't look like we were going to get that second goal. They were putting a lot of balls in the air. You know what Burnley are like. They're a tough, physical side. And he actually come on, I thought he done well. In terms of holding us to ransom for a contract, yeah, I mean, players like of Fellaini's class, they have a role in certain games, and that's about it. Squad players do that, but you don't beg someone like Fellaini to stay. If he doesn't want to sign, then yeah, let him go. That's my opinion. Let him go. Don't let him hold us to ransom. I don't think we should be giving in too much to astronomical wages for someone like Fellaini, who's going to be a bit part player at best. I mean, I know you obviously got your thoughts on Fellaini, but in certain games and like I said, when beginning of the season, Jose found the best place to use him and found a way of playing at that time in that period that we was in, which is why you have a squad of depth. So certain games you need players like that, but on a bigger picture, trying to move forward and win titles in Champions Leagues and stuff, you don't centre your team around Fellaini. So wherever he goes or he stays, I'm not really too fussed, to be honest with you. But if he's here and he's fit in games like that, we needed him. So I haven't got too much qualms with that. I think the right decision will be made. Trust Jose to by the end of it think, if you don't want to be here, then just go. Jose's not the type of manager to beg anyone to stay. Let's face it. So I'm not too worried about that.
22 minutes ago, Manchester United tweeted out that they're giving away an Anthony Martial shirt on the Twitter account. They normally, on average, tweet every hour and a half, so doesn't look like it's going to get announced tonight. I can't see how we'd do it after 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, so it's looking like tomorrow at some point, maybe even Tuesday. So that's the latest, and that's why the headline says maybe by Tuesday. It will definitely happen, though. He's apparently staying at the Lowry. Sophie, you can certainly mention Fellaini, but I want to get your thoughts on Lingard. Lingard, I think the last two games against Stoke and yesterday against Burnley, he was back to his average best, and obviously he had a month where he was Messi Lingard, and I think the last two games he's gone back to Jesse Lingard. But my interpretation is that, and I remember us speaking about this over the last couple of weeks with Lingard, is we were sort of like talking, can he be a first team player? And it was like, well, let's see what he does over the next 3 months. Can he keep that brilliant form up, or will he drop off a bit? He certainly dropped off a little bit over the last couple of games. What's the future for Jesse Lingard? Do you see him as a first teamer, or do you think he is going to be that sort of squad player who can come in every now and again and be brilliant, but then the majority of the time he is he can't maintain that, so he obviously goes to the bench.
Yeah, I think it's harsh to judge Jesse on yesterday's game because I think there was a lot of players who weren't at it, to be honest, and I think it was hard for him really because he's got fantastic movement, finds great space, but if we're not playing that well going forwards, then he's going to struggle at the end of the day. But I do think Jesse Lingard, in my opinion, and I said this a few weeks back, he is a squad player. He was in good form, scored some great goals, but for me, technically he's not the best, although he has scored some fantastic goals. His movement is awesome, but he's not world class in my opinion. He's obviously great form, and you can't fault him for that. He deserved his starting place. But I said this all along, and people were hating on me, thinking that I had some kind of thing against Jesse Lingard. I absolutely love Jesse Lingard, and I think on and off the pitch he is an important squad player. He's so positive, and he did the Instagram story the other day, and just I know me being a player myself, having someone like him around is just fantastic for the club. And so for me, he's a very important player, but he is a squad player ultimately.
There's nothing wrong with being a bench player for Manchester United. I've said this many a time. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Nicky Butt, Phil Neville. There's nothing wrong with being a bench player. I think some people do get a little bit negative about people having an opinion that isn't, totally positive, and there is, sometimes a little bit of realism to it. I've got no issue with Lingard. I think he's been great this season, but I do ultimately I agree with Revo71 and Sophie. I think he will be a bench player who can come on and make a real impact. You can't doubt his energy levels, and I think certainly we wouldn't have got a point against Burnley if it wasn't for him on Boxing Day. 2 fantastic goals. So if he's a bench player for us, it almost also means we've got better players in the first team, and I think there's a big gap to be broken with Man City. But I'll ask you this, Flex, as well. Jesse Lingard, Phil Jones, Marcos Rojo, Fellaini to a certain point, Chris Smalling, Martial, Luke Shaw, just to name a few, players that have drastically improved their game under Jose Mourinho. Phil Jones was the watch-along man of the match yesterday. I know when you did the fan cams, a lot of people gave it to Martial, but Phil Jones was fantastic yesterday. Again, we were just saying it about Martial. Mourinho has done that with those players. I've never seen a word written in the press about that and what he's done with players that have been consistently described as, quite rightly, deadwood, not good enough, get rid of them. And some of these players are now fundamental to this Manchester United side, and Mourinho's never had a word written about it in the press. Pep turns Raheem Sterling, a 50 million signing, into a B-Tech Martial, and they can't shut up about it. I mean, we should get used to that. But again, it's Mourinho is doing great things, and I think Phil Jones does deserve a shout out tonight.
Yeah, like he was phenomenal. And I know, like I said in the reviews, for all the stick that he gets with his fitness and stuff like that, and there's a mistake in him the odd time. When he plays well and plays consistently, he does put in some really good performances. And yesterday showed, with performances like that, if he could perform to that level more consistently, he'd be the best defender in the league. He was absolutely brilliant. He was strong in the tackle. He was strong in the air. His distribution was good. His reading of the game was good. His positioning was excellent. He just won every single battle he had to win, and it's nice to see. And Mourinho, I think Mourinho's just that character. Like, he started off as being obviously the arrogant one, the special one, etc., etc. I think the press have always had that little. They were in love with him at the beginning, but when they started to see the darker side of him, I think that's when they fell out of love with him. I don't think they've ever been able to capture that back. Even in his second spell at Chelsea, when it started going south there, where the players weren't playing for him, etc., then he ended up getting the sack. They're all over him then, very critical of him, and it's been the same at Man United. And then on top of that, like you said, we're Man United. We're always in the press, whether it be good, bad. People always want to talk about us, and sometimes not give us the praise that we deserve. And he has got. At times, I've questioned it, because I don't think it's been as consistent as I would like it. But it's a work in progress. But when you see people like Martial stepping up his game, this time last year, I honestly was questioning. I was thinking we need to start getting Martial playing, or he's going to think, well, I'm not in the French team because I'm not playing enough, and that France team is frightening, so he's got to be on his game. I've got the manager digging me out, but really it's good man management. To a certain extent, he did it with Mkhitaryan for a bit, shut him out the team, publicly called him out, says he needs to up his game. Mkhitaryan came back strong in the latter stages of last year. Okay, it hasn't worked out, we know that. Luke Shaw, We've had many debates on here saying, should he go? Is he done with? You know, at some point, certain fans were saying, yeah, just go. He thinks he's made it. He's getting paid too much money. His head's not in it. Jose was questioning his heart, his integrity. You know, does he want it? And he's answered those questions. So technically, you've got to argue that's good man management. That's not for all players. Some players need an arm around the shoulder and in private and need to be, you know, told that they're going to be the man and that caring. That's not Mourinho's style. Mourinho's style with certain players, I don't think he'd do it to people like Pogba and even Zlatan to a certain extent. There are some characters where even he won't challenge. But by and large, he's a manager who will challenge you in public and say, I need him to work harder, I need the desire, and see if you can answer the questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think he's done a fantastic job. Make sure you smash the like button. We might do 2,000 likes on the show tonight. There's lots of people watching, so make sure you hit the like button. I saw a comment in there. I'm sorry who saw it, and we will go through all the super chats in a minute because there's a lot of people asking questions which want to go through in the back end of the show. But I saw somebody on about the Sunday Supplement on Sky Sports. I used to watch this religiously every week, and I stopped probably about 18 months ago because Neil Ashton is the Sun editor, and from minute one he was anti-Mourinho. I think the first month he said that he'd lost the dressing room like at Chelsea. He's very anti-Mourinho. He presents the show and I ain't giving him a minute of my time. But apparently he was very good today. Neil Custis defending United, he's good, but then he destroyed it by saying if Andy Carroll had stayed fit he'd be as good as Harry Kane. So apparently it was a good show, but I didn't watch it and I don't watch it anymore because I am actually tired by it's not even pragmatic, it's just anti-United, anti-Mourinho press, and I've got better things to do than that. I can go live on the United Stand and talk to you lot, so not interested in that. It's not proper journalism, it's not proper media work, it's just bitter. And there was a lot of bitterness around. I think Ollie Holt called us we're just a rich Stoke. Alexis Sanchez is the world's biggest mercenary going to Manchester United. This is all about money. Well, what do you feel about the press that this deal's had, Sophie? Because it's been a week, obviously, that we've been trying to get it over the line, but it's just bombardment of negativity around United, and I don't think it's going to stop. I think it's going to continue. And I remember it under Sir Alex Ferguson. It was never as bad as this. It's vicious and it is just made up and it is bitter. And I think it just gets to the point where United fans, we just got to block it and ignore it.
That's it. I mean, we're used to it now, let's face it. We're used to the negativity from the press, especially now we've got Mourinho that don't like him. And I just think, like you say, as United fans, you just got to kind of block it out. There was no mention of money or Sanchez being overpaid or anything when it looked like he was going to City. But all of a sudden he's coming to United and then it's negative, it's not a good signing. And I think you just kind of have to laugh it off, really. At the end of the day, it's a fantastic signing. We know that he's proven in the Premier League. He's going to improve us, puts us up there with hopefully competing with City next season, even not pushing them to the end this season. So for me, I just think, you know what, we've got a good deal here. Just push it aside. We're used to it as United fans. We're used to the negative press. And like I said, there was no mention of negativity when he was going to City. But all of a sudden, when he's coming to United and he's going to be wearing red, then the opinion changes. And I think you just have to kind of take it on the chin and move on as a United fan.
Yeah, I just think it's sad. I mean, as I said there, it's just not journalism. And I grew up with, the journalism and the papers. We always had the red tops, but was in the by very, very good. And it's awful now. It's driven by agenda, and I think that's really, really sad because I think United fans, as we see on the United Stand, we're open to criticism. We do criticise players, we do criticise tactics. So we're open to people who actually have something decent to say about our club that may have a negative tinge. But when it's just bitterness all the time, it just switches you off. I think it's a shame. I think it's a real shame. But let's take some of the super chats because there's been loads of questions that I want to go through that people have asked. The first one was from well, Darian Jones says, can Flex look up and Sophie look down at the same time because it will look funny on the screen? Will Mkhitaryan be a success at Arsenal? Says James Tinker. I'll ask you on this one first, Sophie. What do you think?
I think he will. I think he suits their style of play, especially if they make the signing of Aubameyang as well. I think that they're linked up really well at Dortmund. I can't see why they won't do it at Arsenal. And for me, I think it's a really positive move. He'll start most games, I'd imagine, at Arsenal, get plenty of game time, and it's his kind of football playing it on the floor, fast around the box, and I think that suits his game perfectly.
Flex, do you expect, I mean, as I said, the only way's up with him, but do you think he'll be a success, or do you think the Premier League is just not for him?
Can't tell. He's shown glimpses. He's shown glimpses that he can cut it in this league, but he hasn't shown it consistently. The question mark over the top of his head is whether it's a tactical thing, the way we play, the demands of our game, versus the demands of Arsene Wenger, and how they play. They do play quite expansive. They do not put caution to the wind, and all go forward, etc. They do like to play that kind of football. And if they do get Aubameyang, like Soph said, it could be very exciting for Arsenal fans. So it's a question mark. I'd like to see him do well, though. I know he's gone to a rival, and you don't want any of your players going to rival, but I think the situation's a bit different. In the light of the situation with us getting Sanchez in exchange, I don't have any bad feelings to Mkhitaryan, and I've always thought he's a good player, and it's unlucky it hasn't worked out for him. It would have been nice if it could, because he's a great footballer. It would have been nice to get Sanchez in and get Mkhitaryan functioning, and then see where that leaves us. But it hasn't happened. But it's 50-50 whether he's going to be a success or not at Arsenal. I think that's down to their tactics, and see where it goes from there.
I think both good points. I think he'll fail because I think he's not made for the Premier League like Kagawa. I think he's physically not up for it, but I do think we will see a bit of an improvement because he couldn't get any worse. He's going to go into an environment where the crowd are going to really give him a boost in his confidence, which was shot under United. Deservedly, he played poorly. So I think there will be, and he did very well in the Europa League last year, so maybe it could be good for that. But like Sophie, I agree. I think what excites me about Arsenal, and I don't mean this in any way that I like Arsenal, because I don't, but I'm intrigued by Aubameyang. I've always liked Aubameyang. I wanted him at United a couple of years ago, and I think he could be massive for Arsenal because they haven't had a good number 9 in years, and I think he is key to Arsenal's success. Don't know. Were you going to say something, Flex?
Yeah, I was just saying, like with Aubameyang, I've always thought we should have tried to get him before Lukaku was ever mentioned, and we were obviously in for Morata, and it looked like a done deal. All through then, I was saying to friends and people on social media, why are we not trying to get Aubameyang? He's already tried to leave once. He's a brilliant striker. He's quick. He knows where the goal is. He's got a phenomenal scoring record. He's a dangerous player. Dangerous player. So if Arsenal get him, they're getting a player right there. And I would love to have seen him in the United shirt. But, we move on. The club doesn't stop. Football moves very quickly. And obviously we've got Lukaku now. Yeah. But no, Aubameyang's a great player. He is a great player.
It'll be interesting to see how he does, and whether, like Sophie says, they can link up Mkhitaryan and Aubameyang, because just because you did it in Germany, can you do it in the Premier League? Calamity Jones, thank you for the contribution. He says some reports have Sanchez on £500,000 a week, others say 250. Do we know the details of the contract yet? Nobody ever pays any attention to this sort of thing. I think Aguero's on £220,000 a week, but nobody's ever clarified whether that's after tax, which it could be, which would put it up at 450 or something like that. So it's only United that everyone scrutinises the cost of the taxi fare and everything like that. I wouldn't worry about it. We can afford it. And the club, one thing about Manchester United is we wouldn't do a deal if we couldn't afford it, because we've got shareholders who want profits from this club. So I wouldn't worry about it. Let them all get bitter. Darian Jones, we're not as attacking with Lukaku in the side. I'll ask you about that, Sophie. I mean, I thought Lukaku played well yesterday. I think the problem with Lukaku is he's just not getting the service.
I agree. I think last 2 games he's looked really sharp. Obviously, he set up the goal yesterday as well, but I thought his hold-up play was decent. I know his touch has got to improve, I get that, but I think he's gradually getting better, and the service is just not good enough into him. I thought against Stoke, he looked really sharp. He played really well. He got a well-deserved goal as well in that game. And yesterday, I thought, complete lack of service, but what he did have, he made the most of. And like I say, he set up the goal as well. You can't really ask for much more in that game yesterday. And I think he's looking really sharp lately, especially the last 2 games. And I think it's harsh to judge him, really, and say that he's not really doing well in an attacking sense, because he's not getting the service. Hopefully Sanchez, coming to United, will give him a bit more service to link up with as well.
There was a chance in the last few minutes where Rashford had it, and all he had to do is slip him in, and he, final ball of Rashford, it's his big Achilles heel, and doesn't see the player coming back, and it would have been.
There was twice, and I remember Pogba going on that massive run as well, literally around the length of the pitch, and he had a player either side, literally Martial on one side, Lukaku the other, and he didn't play either of them in. And at the end of the day, if he's not getting the ball, he's not going to score, is he? So you can't judge him by that.
Yeah. Mr. United makes a contribution. He says Martial, Sanchez, Lukaku should be our MSN, which is pretty much what Flex was saying as well. A lot of people saying that. Biospheres made a contribution. Joe Morrison has as well. He says, thanks to the United stand, I didn't know Sanchez was coming. I think he's being a little bit sarcastic. But I'll ask you this one, Flex, from Daniel Knight. He says, who else do you think we should sign next? Do you fancy one in January, or do you think we'll wait till the summer? And if so, who?
I think with the capturing of Alexis Sanchez, we can't get too spoiled, because normally we don't do anything in January. Last decent player we got in January was what, Juan Mata, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From Chelsea. Remember when he landed in on a helicopter? That was quite exciting watching that unfold. But yeah, I don't think we'll do any other business. I know the Mora thing was supposedly happening before the Sanchez deal came up. I think now we've got him, there'll be no chance we're going in for Mora. I would like to see another central midfielder inside, you know, for when Pogba does get injured, for when Matic is out. I just don't think we're strong enough in that department in terms of squad depth. And I don't want to be too critical of Valencia, because he's been an outstanding servant to the club. And he's an athlete. The guy's an absolute unit. He's a beast. But, you know, he is getting on. I don't know, what's he, 32 now maybe? Going on maybe 33. You wonder how long has he got left. So at fullback, I would like to see us sign like a prospect there, like a young, fresh fullback who's ready to go, you know, got 10 years in him, start embedding them, unless he's going to bring in Tuanzebe and start actually playing him. I'd like to see us start, you know, planning for the future in that position. And then obviously next season, I think will be Luke Shaw's a left back. I'm happy with that. Am I going to say another centre half? Probably not yet, because I think if Lindelof keeps progressing as he is, gets a chance, hopefully Bailly can stay fit. That's the key thing, because he's our best defender in my opinion. So yeah, a central midfielder, maybe a right back, and maybe a number 10, but not all at once, obviously, because we're not going to get in January.
Interesting. I'm going to ask you the same question, Sophie, but I'm also going to say to our live comments, do get asking your questions as well, because that's what we do towards the back end of the show. Somebody just asked me to say a shout out to all our Jamaican fans. Well, thanks to all the Jamaican fans, but to be honest, thanks to all our fans, because we know globally there'll be people who can't watch it live because they're in bed and everything like that. So a big shout out to you all. It's been a challenging week, a very exhausting week, and we are nearly towards the end of it now. If bloody United just go and announce what we know is inevitable, and then I can tell you the source. I nearly forgot about that. But
it was Ed Woodward. Hold on.
It wasn't Ed Woodward, but he nearly gave it to you last night, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was trying to run away, bless him, but I wouldn't let him go away. But I tried to probe it out of him. He was just kind of smiling and smirking. Couldn't really see it as well as I wanted you to in the video, guys. But he was smirking, and even after we stopped filming, as he went off, you can sort of see he was smirking. So yeah, it's done. It's done.
We've known it's been done for a week. Although Flex was still nervous, I said no. Alexi Nicola says Mata's best football was a number 10, not on the right. I prefer him to Lingard behind Martial, Alexi and Lukaku. More creativity, less pace. We've spoken about this. I mean, thanks Alexi for the contribution, but we've spoken about this loads on the United stand. I'd love to see Mata in at the number 10, but Mourinho just doesn't seem to like him in that position as much as he does on the right hand side, and hopefully we'll see, well, maybe Sanchez could play as a number 10. Do drop a like on the video, and if you are new, subscribe to the channel, the icon in the bottom right hand corner, and make sure you've clicked your bell and got your notifications on, because we will go live when and if, well, no, it's when Alexis Sanchez signs now. I'm not going to wind anybody up. Sophie, have you got your eye on anybody in relation to maybe a signing in January? Or are you happy with what we've got, like Flex says? And who, I mean, Mourinho did say the other day that if we get Sanchez, we'll only get 2 in the summer. Doesn't look like major in-signings coming, so what would you be looking at in what areas?
To be honest, I wasn't even expecting Sanchez. When we were linked with him, I was astounded. So for me, I'm over the moon with Sanchez in January. I've seen reports today that we were being linked with Vidal as well from Bayern Munich in the summer apparently. I would absolutely love to see him in United shirt. Being from Chile as well, obviously, so there's contact there with Sanchez. Whether that's true, I have no idea.
I think it's fake news. I saw the account and then I read it, and then I think it's fake. I've not seen an official tweet link to it from ESPN apparently, but I think it might be fake.
Yeah, even so, I would love to see Vidal at United, but in the summer I can see us maybe getting Griezmann. I can still see that happening in the summer. people think because we've got Sanchez he won't come in, but I can still see that happening. I would like to see another centre midfielder, like Flex said as well. For me, a centre midfielder is key at the moment, especially if Pogba's injured. We went to pot when Pogba was suspended. I think we need another player in there to give us a bit of strength. And I agree with the centre-back situation. I think if Lindelof can come good and obviously Boyer get back fit, Rojo under Mourinho has looked like a different player. So I don't really think we need to strengthen there. Centre midfielder would be the main option for me that I would be looking at. And obviously the number 10 being Griezmann is who I think we'll get.
Interesting. Keep your eye out for Transfer Daily tomorrow, because that picks up on some of the things Sophie said there, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But Tahar Darat has made a contribution. He says, Mark, I think we need a destroying midfielder with Matic and Pogba to give Pogba more freedom to create and play as a playmaker in a 4-3-3. Shout out to all United fans in Libya. Thanks for the contribution, Tahar. And there's your shout out for all you Libyans out there. Just amazing the global support United generate, and as we always say on the United Stand, everyone's welcome. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock is the Skype show for you to call in. Just want to answer one question as well before we start whizzing through some of yours. I've seen people saying, why did the official Manchester United account not say happy birthday to Mkhitaryan, but they said it happy birthday to Butt and Neville? Because Mkhitaryan's an Arsenal player now. Simple as that. Maybe not officially, but we all know it. So I think it would be weird, and they'd probably get a load of abuse for doing it. Right, fire your questions in. Let's go through. I quite like this one. Kieran Byrne, Flex. I know you discussed this earlier on the video you did for UFF. Marco Silva sacked. I remember back in November, people were talking about him as a Manchester United manager, and I said, early days, let's see what he does in a few months' time. But he's got himself sacked. I think Watford are a terrible club. They do it all the time. I don't think he deserved to be sacked, but interesting all the same, because he was being touted as a United manager.
Exactly. This is the guy, he come in relatively, well, not relatively new to the Prem, obviously new to the English game with Hull. Although they went down, people were singing his praises, so he got his chance. And he worked wonders with Watford. Let's face it, they're a side that earlier on this season, I mean, before our game, before we played them, we were, I'm not going to say worried about it, but it was down as a tough game. The Watford were playing well, right up there. Good counter-attacking side. Some good players brought in by Silva. And it looked as if, he was there to stay. He was linked with the Everton job before Big Sam got it. But like I said in the video I've done with UFF today, it's just the ruthlessness of the Prem, man. If you don't get results, you're gone. It's as simple as that with any manager these days. But I do kind of feel sorry for him, because what does a club like Watford expect, to be honest? They're not. Some of these teams get a bit carried away, do you know what I mean? And expect to just, like it's a given, they should be winning games. And as soon as they get in a bit of a tough patch, they just sack the manager. Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for him.
They've done it before at Watford. They've got ideas way above their station. He is. They're in the top half. They're going to stay up. They've had a bad run, but I remember going to Watford. I remember that Watford game for United where we played really well, and we were talking about it the week before. What a tough game it was going to be. What a good team, and they've sort of gone off the rails ever since that. To be fair, but
since then, yeah.
I think he's a good manager, and I don't think he was ever United standard yet, but I do think he's a good manager, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back on the continent and does quite well. I've got a question for you, Sophie. It's quite a difficult one. Basically, last night there was a bit of a Twitter fallout. I hate this. I absolutely hate it when it's between United accounts. I bloody hate it. But there's a young journalist who writes for Manchester Evening News. Not going to name him because I don't want him to get any abuse. But and then there's Gary Neville, who we all know. And basically, they're having a bit of a Twitter debate. And the young journalist said to Gary Neville, why do you never give Martial credit, but you're always giving Rashford credit when Rashford at the moment is playing awful? And Gary Neville sort of had to go back at him. But I think a lot of people came to his defence and said, well, no, I've seen you get on Martial's back a lot, but you're always bigging Rashford up. And to be fair, if Martial had played like Rashford has for the last 2 months, you'd be on his back about work ethic and this, that and the other. Flex sort of touched on it a little bit. I mean, where do you sit on this in relation to Rashford? I think anybody, and I love Rashford, but I think he is struggling at the moment. I don't know what the solution is, but do you think there is a little bit of... do you think Martial should even be compared to Rashford now? Have you got any concerns about Rashford?
I think they're both young at the end of the day. And like Flex said earlier, this is Rashford's first dip in form. He's been fantastic for us. Obviously burst onto the scene, and it's too early to judge him. For me, he's got great talent, and he changes the game very often when he comes on. At the minute, I don't know if he's just trying a bit too hard. At first, I was worried it's a bit of complacency. Now I just think he's trying a bit too hard. Simple passes like yesterday are not coming off for him. And I think it's just a bit of a dip in form, and I think he needs the support at the end of the day. And I think that's what Neville's probably touching at there. He's trying to give him that bit of support. Obviously, Rashford being English as well, I think he's just trying to give him support because you can see he's a young player and he needs that support. But I do agree as well with the fact that it does get on Martial's back. And Martial was in pretty much the same situation not too long ago, where he was lacking confidence and he was trying a bit too hard and things just weren't coming off. So I think it's just a bit of a rough patch, and he will come out the other side, Rashford. I have no doubt about that, because he's got fantastic ability and he's at the right club to do that as well. Mourinho, for me, is the right guy to nurture him and to get him back to playing his best football, ready for the World Cup for England. So for me, I think that's probably Gary Neville's thinking. He probably wants Rashford to get his confidence back, ready for the World Cup, and that's probably why he's supporting him a bit more than he has with Martial, which isn't fair and it isn't right. But Rashford is just a dip in form, and I think as United fans we just need to support him through this, and he will bounce back, I'm sure about that.
Minnie Mourner says send Rashford on loan, thanks for the contribution. We'll come back to the super chats because there has been more. They don't get missed, as Drawty said. What I would say is that I think Gary Neville just likes Manchester things, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's from Manchester, Rashford's from the youth setup, and I think there's nothing wrong with being defensive of the youth setup over somebody who's been brought in. I prefer Martial to Rashford. He's my favourite player at United, but I love Markos Rashford, and I think we're very lucky to have, like you say, two young players like that. Rashford's having a bad dip, but he was never going to come into the team at 17, 18 years of age, play 20 years at the club, smash every record and play 8 out of 10 every week. Every player has a dip. Sophie said it there, his final ball is his issue. It's how he bounces back from this. I guarantee he'll bounce back because he has got the raw ability, hasn't he, Flex? And, you know, you were at the game yesterday. Again, it was pretty much the same sort of thing. In fact, you were at the game, was it the Stoke game, or there was a game recently where you said he was so frustrated with himself because he's like, everything he's trying is not working. But the emphasis is the word trying. He is trying, and eventually he'll click back into form again.
That's exactly it. The guy is young. I'm seeing people in the comments sell Rashford, he's rubbish and all this nonsense. Absolute stupid comments. Like, he's so young, and you got to remember, the guy has absolutely burst onto the scene. His life's absolutely changed in the last 3 or 4 years, and 3 years, and he's gonna get a dip in form. It's natural. The guy's young, man. Get off his back, like, and you can see it in his game. Like, he's hit the woodwork quite a few times. He's just in one of them moments. If you play football, you don't even have to play it, but if you watch football and you know football, you know that, especially as a player, ex-player myself, you get in those little moments where nothing goes for you. The passes won't come off. You lose your footing. You hit the bar. Do you know what I mean? Mixed in with a bit of bad form, and you just got to keep your head down, keep training well, and keep a positive attitude. And you need the fans to back him. You know, all these people saying he's crap, sell him, and all that nonsense. I'm not even entertaining that. The guy's quality. He will be quality. He just needs to develop it and get that consistency. It's what happens with young players. You know, he's the future of Man United, local boy. We just need to back him. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to take a question off Twitter that somebody's just sent me through direct message. And it's a bit of a personal thing, but his Twitter account is at MattyMorgan123. And he messages the United Stand Twitter account all the time with, like, breaking news and everything like that. And, you know, I would get it myself, but it does save time sometimes. He's absolutely brilliant at it, so I want to give him a shout out for that, and he's a great person to follow because he tweets it himself, at MattyMorgan123. But he's messaged me and said, can you please ask Flex and Sophie this question? So I'm going to do it because he's just consistently, for so long, DMs us with little stories and little breaking news. So thanks to him for that.
Okay.
Give him a follow. And he says, could I ask a question for Sophie and for Flex? Do they think Sanchez signing will give us a strong chance of winning the FA Cup and allow us to progress even further in the Champions League this season? And we'll go you first, Sophie.
Yeah, I do. I think Sanchez is the kind of calibre of player that we should be looking at. He's a world-class player. He's got a great attitude. For me, it's just where Mourinho is going to play him. But just to have someone like that in our squad, a genuine world-class player, it's only positive, really. I think in the FA Cup hopefully, well, he is going to sign, let's face it. Hopefully before then, hopefully we see him playing in the FA Cup soon. And in Champions League as well, I think Mourinho already is quality in the Champions League. I was feeling quite confident that we'll get through to the semi-finals of the Champions League, depending on who we draw against. But I think with Sanchez in there as well, it just gives us that extra boost, that bit of confidence that, you know what, we've got someone actually genuinely world-class now starting in the United shirt, and I'm buzzing with his signing. And I can see it being a really positive impact on all competitions.
I love that last statement, because I think this last week we started off with such excitement and it sort of tapered off a little bit because we're waiting. But that statement at the end, we've got a world-class player come in, and it just got goosebumps on me because I was like, you know what, he is that good. How far are we going to go then, Flex? Ask it in a different way. FA Cup, Champions League, he definitely improves us, so that obviously improves our chances. I mean, what are you expecting from those tournaments? Because the Premier League's probably gone.
Yeah, I'd say the league's probably gone, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. He definitely strengthens us. Sometimes you overthink the tactics and other things why we're not playing well, when sometimes you just need that extra spark. Like, you look at it with him in the side now, and you, like you're saying, it's that world-class element. You're looking over the pitch, you're thinking, right, Martial on his way to being world-class with this kind of consistency. Pogba, world-class. Sanchez, world-class. Lukaku, very, very good. So you're starting to get that, real core of great players at the club. There's no reason why we can't win the FA Cup. Even without Sanchez, there's no reason why we can't win the FA Cup. To go on a good cup run, win the semi-finals, that can be done. But with him in, it just gives that extra dynamic. And I do think in Europe, it will massively help us. You're going away to the big clubs in Europe, your Barcelona's, Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's. You need as many world-class players as you can get. Yes, there have been teams in the past, Jose's Porto, who have won the Champions League without having as many, world-class players. But by and large, the team that wins the Champions League is a team full of world-class players, usually. So the more the merrier. He's definitely going to improve our chances. We'll see how far we go in the Champions League. I think we can go further with him in it. But it isn't just down to him. We're going to have to defend really well and be a good unit when you go away to big teams. So it's not going to be enough to just say, we got Sanchez. So I really think we've got a strong chance of winning the Champions League just because of him. But we'll see.
I think it makes it very exciting. And as Sophie said, he's a world-class player. So let's see what happens. It just makes the season exciting, because I remember losing to City and we were like, bring on next season already. But now we're like, the big positive about Sanchez is he's here 6 months before he probably would have come, so he can embed himself into the team for next season and hit the ground running. And he's got no World Cup. Let's whiz through the super chats. James Tinker, I might come back to that. He said Mickey had a brilliant start. What went wrong and why? Thanks to everyone who's made a super chat option. Matthew McFadden, if Sanchez wanted just money, he'd be learning Chinese as we speak. If he wanted easy trophies, he'd be at Celtic, but he's a driven player instead.
That's a good comment, man.
It is, yeah. Billy Ostovich says Sanchez is one of three. Who will be the other two signings? I'd like to see Griezmann and Fabinho. Well, so would I. Mkhitaryan Shrivastava has made a contribution, but no question, so thanks for that. Alexi Nicola, Mata's best football was at number 10. We did that one. Karan Bansal, Griezmann, Sanchez in the same team creates imbalance, question mark, question mark. Are we going to get Griezmann now? Tahar Darat, yeah, we did that one. Alex Webb, Twansibi, good enough to partner Bay next season. Hopefully he will get his loan move to Villa. I don't feel live far away from the Villa ground. If he gets a loan move, I'm going to go and watch him a couple of times if it doesn't clash with United. He needs football, Twansibi. And obviously Mini Morna said send him on loan. Just then very, very quickly, what went wrong with Mkhitaryan that can now go right at Arsenal? What went wrong for Mkhitaryan at Manchester United, Sophie?
Well, someone mentioned that he had a good start, but Mourinho didn't play him for ages, did he? He didn't trust him, he didn't play him for a while. He obviously had a few doubts with Mkhitaryan, and then he played more often than not in the Europa League, showed phases where he was absolutely quality. I know he scored against Spurs as well, and he was impressive in that game. But in the Premier League, I just don't know, I just didn't seem to find that consistency, which is the worry what you were talking about earlier, saying is he ready for the Premier League? Is he mentally prepared for that league? I guess at Arsenal we'll see that really. But for me, just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't seem to click for him in the league. In the cup he was fantastic, but in the league it just didn't seem to work out for him. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it does work out at Arsenal, because like I said earlier, I actually really like Mkhitaryan and I wish him all the best. He obviously didn't want to leave United, and so I just hope it works out for him because he's got talent, and I just hope he can fit in the Premier League. And I think that's why it didn't work out for him. It just didn't seem, whether it's mentally, I'm not really sure, whether it's the weather, because you never really know, but it just didn't seem to work out for him in the league. In the Europa League, different story, hence why he scored so many goals. But yeah, fingers crossed it works out in the league.
Lucas Taylor says, loving this format. United stand doing the business, going from strength to strength. This is our Sunday lineup now, Sophie, me and Flex. So tune in every Sunday at 8 o'clock. And I agree. I think it's good to get the visuals in on the show. It works really well. Dipankar Sharma says, is Sanchez deal a straight swap or transfer money involved? It's a straight swap. Woodward, brilliant. And a lot of people are saying he just didn't fit into the system. Where do you think it went wrong, Flex? Have you got any different theory to that it,
it's hard to really put your finger on it, really, because Jose, like Sophie just said, didn't play him for so long. There was something going on there where I think Mkhitaryan's desire was questioned. He wasn't even in the matchday squads. Jose saying he wasn't training very well, etc. Then he came and showed some character. Then you're thinking, right, okay, beginning of this season, let's go. He starts pretty well, and then just falls off. So it's very difficult to say because his ability is unquestionable. You've seen what the boy can do. So sometimes it just doesn't work out for players in this league. This league is unlike any other league in the world. We may not play the best football in terms of technically, but it's the most physically demanding league. It's the quickest pace league, and it's the most competitive league. There's 6 teams who could potentially win the title. Let's face it. So sometimes players just can't get to grips with that, and that's what we're going to find out when he goes to Arsenal, and they can make their own minds up about what's gone wrong as well, because he might just go and have a worldie at Arsenal. Who knows? But it's hard to put your finger on one thing to say why it hasn't worked, because there's been a few factors behind the scenes that we will never know. And some questions that Mkhitaryan has to look at himself and think, can he get his talent back to the forefront? Because he's a great player.
I think Wenger might improve him, because I think Wenger will have this 18 months in the Premier League to sort of research and see where it's gone wrong. A lot of people are saying because he was played out of position, and Zotty Moon says it's because he got a United shirt and didn't think he had to work hard for it. Maximus Stale Van Holsten says, thoughts on Lindelof's absence? Very, very quickly, I think that sort of links in with Mkhitaryan. Lindelof's played really well, but now can't get on the bench. And that is the competition for places that United are generating now. I'm not concerned that Lindelof's not on the bench. He deserves to be part of the team, but do you drop Jones or Smalling or Rojo off the bench? You've got to wait your turn and take your chance. That takes mental strength, and I think this is the problem with Mkhitaryan. He couldn't deal with being out of the team at the start, like Sophie said. He couldn't deal with being played in different positions. I think the way Wenger gets the best out of Mkhitaryan is he plays him as a number 10 and just plays him every week and wraps him up in cotton wool and gives him a big hug. And because I think mentally he's weak, and a lot of players are like that, and I'm not criticising him. I just don't think he had the mental strength to be managed by Mourinho. I thought Martial was going to go the same way. Left out last season a lot, sulked a bit, comes back over the summer, boom, he's on it. Probably the best player in the Premier League for me. Some players have got it, some people haven't, and Mourinho gave a big hint away last May before the Europa League final. He said, I don't put arms around my players. That, my coaching staff will do it, but for me, you've got to run through brick walls, and if you don't, I'm not interested. He said it's a flaw in my personality, but that's what I expect. I don't think that suits Mkhitaryan, and I think that's what it comes down to. But maybe Wenger will get the best out of him by a different approach. We'll have to wait and see. But we're still getting the best deal. And hopefully it'll be announced tomorrow. We're nearly there. It's nearly 9 o'clock. So thanks for coming on, Flex.
No problem. It's always a pleasure. Just a big thanks to everyone for the support with the fan cams. It's really growing. People always messaging me asking if they can come on. Guys, don't feel that you need to ask. You're all welcome to come on. Just find me at the games and just get in there, man. The love's appreciated.
I just want to add to that as well. I mean, I did the video last night at 8 o'clock. It was a short one, and I said, please go and watch all the fan cams, because there was more to come up, and there was some up there. And sometimes after a game where we've won, I think people, they all want to watch it when there's been a bad result. We don't want bad results. We want good results. So support the fan cams and get involved, because Flex is doing great work. And that Chasing Woodward needs a Benny Hill clip on it. It needs a bit of music on, because it was hilarious. But you know what? How many people have got the balls to go and chase the chief executive of Manchester United and trying to get him to commit to the fact that Sanchez was a done deal?
I couldn't believe it was him. I was just about to start filming the review of the game, and I just saw this geezer walk past a red scarf. I thought, oh, you look like Ed Woodward. Then I thought, hang on a minute, that actually is him. And I thought, nah, I need to try and get some answers out of him. So it was a good little clip, man. It was funny. It was funny.
I've upset Lynn again because she's not happy that I've called Mkhitaryan mentally weak. Lynn's a very big fan of the show, but we're going to disagree on this, Lynn. I know he lost his dad at a young age. I put the tweet out. It's tragic, but he had his chance at Manchester United and he wasted it. If I'm totally honest, but I really want him to do well at Arsenal. I like the guy, and I do feel sorry for him. I do really feel sorry for him. I don't want people not to think that. I do feel sorry for him. He's going into Arsenal kicking and screaming, and we should be grateful for that, because if he didn't go, we wouldn't get Sanchez. So I'll always be grateful to him. He was good in the Europa League. It was tragic what happened with his dad, but this is football, and Manchester United will be a long way after all of us lot, and we've got to look at what's best for us. And at the moment, we're a long way behind where we need to be, and Mkhitaryan isn't good enough, and that's what it comes down to. So all the best to him. I feel sad for him, but I think it's the right decision. Thanks for coming on, Sophie.
Thank you for having me on it again. I really do appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate all the support as well, because I know, like you've mentioned earlier, as a female, there are some comments that are a bit daft, I'm going to say. But yeah, I appreciate all the support from everyone. And I enjoyed coming on the show, so thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, Sophie's welcome on. I think Flex and Sophie are great to have on a Sunday, and it's nice to have that regularity, which we try to always have on the United Stand. And remember, the Sunday night show was all we used to have 3 years ago. It used to be once a week. I can't believe that we just used to do one show a week. But the Sunday night show is always going to be important. So thanks, everybody. For me, it's the most important show of the week, with Skype Goldbridge tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. So only because you lot get to call in. That's great. Thanks, everybody. Loads of likes on the video. Remember to subscribe if you're new, bottom right-hand corner. And maybe tomorrow will be the day, but I think certainly by Tuesday. So thanks, everyone, for watching, and have a good night. And we'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Transfer Daily, tomorrow morning. Speak to you all soon. And we're done. Thanks for coming on, both of you. It was a really good show. It just flies by.
No,
it's good. As usual, man. Loads to talk about. Good stuff.
You could easily do another hour. Easily do another